You didn't say the magic word.
Mario. Last name. Mario. Okay, what's your name?
Luigi.
Luigi?
No, Luigi Mario.
How many Mario?
It is time for our review of the Super Mario Brothers movie. Welcome everyone officially to the return of the rDNA podcast. The R stands for real, R-E-E-L, because we be keeping it real here in the movie podcast. Back this week with special guest, iRob, a.k.a. What do you got?
Is there an AKA for me?
I don't know. I heard all the popular podcasts do the AKA thing for like 5 minutes, so I figured we'd try it, but I digress.
AKA the dirty DP machine? I don't know.
Dish soap hands? Is that a throwback or what?
That's a throwback.
That's a throwback. And also here with Wicked. Wait a second. That's just a couch. Where is Wicked?
What'd you do with him?
And what in the world was that? He was rolling around in Wait a second. There he is.
Oh, what up, y'all? What up? What up? It's Herman, y'all.
He's back. He is back. Welcome, everyone, back to another podcast. And as I mentioned, we're here reviewing the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Not to be confused with the games.
Not to be confused at all with the games. I'm hearing already in chat, and you can join us in chat if you're listening to this on podcast platforms on Tuesday nights on Twitch. Dose of Nerd Acumen. Find us, follow us, love us. But let's jump right into things, because I honestly don't know how long this episode is going to go or how short it's going to go. Because personally, is there a lot to unpack here or is there not? Because I'm seeing mixed reactions from chat already saying that it was shitty. Boom, reviewed. We just move on. Do we agree with that?
For me, it would be yes and no.
Okay.
I was very disappointed this time.
You're very disappointed. Chunk says one of the worst movies ever. Now, have either of you seen it before this?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I am a fan. When we were deciding to review this, I just went and pulled out my DVD to watch it again.
Yes.
And everyone can hate me for it if they want. That's okay.
I also have it on DVD. DK, thanks for the host. Early birthday shout out to you, man. I understand your birthday's tomorrow, so happy birthday. iRob's is coming up as well. My copy, as you can see, it's still sealed. I was fortunate enough to find somebody with it on their server, so I watched it digitally because I wanted to preserve the seal of this valuable DVD, which I found out online it's only worth about $14. So, thank you for the host, Batman. Thank you for the host, Thunder. Again, continue to see mixed reactions in chat. Some people saying they enjoy it. Some people have no problem with it. Some people say they're very disappointed.
And personally, I would say all of those opinions are valid.
Very much so.
Well, I mean, it's all subjective, right? It depends on what you're into as far as films. Like, that's why we're here. Everyone has different tastes. Even all three of us are probably going to come across different tastes in films. But our hunt for the worst video game movie, will it continue, or have we already found it in our second episode?
I can guarantee I've seen other video game movies that are still worse than this.
Interesting. And we do have an active poll available on the Dose of Nerd Acumen Facebook group. We want to have the community help us decide what we should vote next. Right now, in the lead is Street Fighter the movie. And then close second is Resident Evil. Worst video game movie, House of the Dead, says Redbeard. Well, let's jump in because this is our mission, is to find the worst video game movie of all time. Again, have we found it here? Let's find out. Super Mario Bros. Released on May 28th, 1993. Its runtime is 104 minutes. Its budget was between $42 and $48 million. And in the box office, it grossed $38.9 million. So that is a box office bomb. That's a failure. It was directed by Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel. For the most part, unfamiliars. If you're familiar or unfamiliar, he was the co-creator of the TV series Max Headroom and co-creator of the 1993 Hollywood Pictures film that we're doing here, Super Mario Bros. He also did various music videos by Tom Tom Club, Talking Heads, Gravity Kills, Orgy, George Harrison, and Miles Davis. Did you know any of that? Chunk says we found it. We found the worst. It is the first feature-length live-action film to be based on a video game. It follows the Mario, based, yes. And we'll get into that, too, because from my understanding, Shigeru Miyamoto was basically allowing full creative control on this, if you didn't know. This movie is why they won't give us Zelda, says Kevin. It follows the Mario brothers, Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, in their quest to rescue Princess Daisy, who's played by Samantha Mathis. And if you don't know who Princess Daisy was, she debuted in the Game Boy game Super Mario Land. So that's a throwback there, which was a few years before this film. They go to a dystopic parallel universe ruled by the ruthless President Koopa, played by Dennis Hopper. And again, these are probably some familiar actors. Are you familiar with any of them?
I love John Leguizamo.
Mr. Wildcat himself from Speed, Dennis Hopper.
Yep.
Right.
Bob Hoskins also was in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It's one of the ones I know him for probably the most. Locke says I can't hear Herman at all. Can you give us a little bit?
At all?
Oh, you're real loud there.
Wow. Okay. Can you hear me more?
Let's get some feedback on that. Ty says if this movie is the first of its kind, shouldn't the expectations be like low? What do you guys think?
Well, I'm going to give it a little bit, like, as bad as this movie is, I love it. Like, just, and the thing is the creative control they gave away. If you're going in expecting it to be anything like you're playing Mario Brothers, you will be disappointed.
Yeah.
And once again, it was made in the 90s.
It was made in the 90s.
But I mean, there's it literally was the same within the same year. Because what was it? 93 was when Jurassic Park released. So like, come on now. You can't say, oh, it was the 90s, everything was bad, because that's far from accurate. Especially, here's some fun stats. The production innovated and introduced many filmmaking techniques now considered pivotal in the transition from practical to digital visual effects, including the use of Autodesk Flame. So I found that fascinating. So it had importance in production values. And there were some scenes that didn't look terrible as far as practical and visual effects.
And I know from what I read that Disney picked it up for distribution.
Yep, Buena Vista.
Yep. So they kind of had to change some things right before.
Yeah, it originally included stripper scenes and other things, so that would have been interesting for the kids.
And a lot more CGI.
Yeah. So, I mean, who knows what the original template or blueprint, if you will, the original script, how you convinced these actors to sign on and then what it turned into.
Right.
It remained the only live-action film based on a Nintendo game property until Pokemon Detective Pikachu in 2019.
Well, they could only go up then, right?
I mean, that's not a bad movie. Have you seen Detective Pikachu?
I have not.
I also have not.
That's on the list.
Of
I was going to say, it's on the list. Vote now. We need a Snyder cut of Mario. Good Lord. And there's no way Nintendo would have approved strippers in a Mario film. Sounds more like Duke Nukem. Yeah,
then,
I agree. I enjoyed
just
Detective
getting
Pikachu. Go ahead.
The part of the funny thing for me was, and you had it on your beginning there, the Mario, and Luigi Mario. So there's 3 Marios between the 2 brothers.
Well, I mean, technically, yes. The last name is Mario. Was that one of the first references that we got as far as knowing the Mario brothers' last name is actually being Mario? So it no longer confuses why they're called the Mario brothers if one's Mario and Luigi? Because I think that's the first reference that I remember. Chat.
Out of games or anything, yeah. Seems like it.
Maybe chat knows more. There's got to be somebody in chat that knows a little bit of pop trivia here with that. Let's dive in, shall we?
Let's do it.
The film opens with the Mario theme for the studios that made the film. So the classic theme song that we all recognize, scored for the big screen. So immediately we're met with something like, yes, okay, Mario, I know this. Let's do this. Then it immediately transitions to a bad filter attempting to be 8-bit, with animation narrating the demise of dinosaurs as we know it.
You cliche parallel dimension angle.
Yeah. I thought we spoke on effects in very brief just a moment ago. I thought the effects there were not great. The filter applied in the weird cartoon intro was so jarring for what we're about to watch that it felt out of place.
I can get that. For me, it was it almost like they were trying too hard to remind you that this is a movie based on a video game.
Yeah.
Which anybody that's watching this, the only reason they're watching it is because it's based on a video game.
Do you think that's the core, who they were trying to get to with this film?
I think that was the idea, but they missed the mark.
Because I'll be honest, I don't remember the marketing for this film at all.
I don't either.
No.
Honestly, I think for me, the first time watching it was hanging out with you, and we were like, "There's a Mario Brothers movie," and we watched it.
Yeah, because I did not see
That
this
was
in
about it.
theaters. This was not one I rushed out to see.
And we kind of touched on it with Mortal Kombat last time. Literally, I was watching this, and again, this was somebody said, this game made lots of money. Let's make a movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's... And just not well executed in terms of... There's... And it's funny because I'm going to knock this movie a lot, which makes no sense because I love it. But it's not a good movie. It's really not.
But why?
I love it in spite of itself. It's almost like it's so bad that it made it good.
Yeah.
Or we loved
Like,
it so much as kids, and then to watch it now to go, oh man, I missed all of that.
That's probably part of it too, because I was way younger the first time that we watched it. So you're just like, it's a Mario movie. This is great. And then looking back, you realize how dumb some of the things are they did in the movie. But at this point, I don't care. I'll still love it.
You know, the thing is, like, even as a kid, when I first watched this, like, I don't remember the first time watching this, but I never enjoyed this movie. Even when I was younger, I never enjoyed this movie. And as we go on with the plot here, I'll point out reasons. Like, and I mean, already we just talked about the intro sequence. It wasn't great. It didn't capture me or excite me with what was about to happen. I thought it was jarring. Like, am I watching a cartoon? And keep in mind, there is a cartoon coming, or an animated film, I should clarify, on next year. So they are making another Mario film. So that's in the works, and it's most likely going to be much better than this disaster. So let's continue with the plot here. So we get a 20 years ago backstory. We see the classic rainy night, a girl running through a storm, and she's leaving, you know, for what we think at first a baby on the porch sequence. We've seen this a million times in television and films. However, when they undo the blanket and everything from the basket, it's an egg. Did you see that coming? Like, an egg.
No. Maybe a baby with a mustache.
A baby with a mustache. It's
Maybe
me,
a Mario baby.
baby Mario. But then it hatches, and it is a baby.
Yes. Because somehow in this awesome parallel universe they've made for this movie, dinosaurs evolved into humanoid beings.
Why? How are you getting this from the source material thus far?
It's not.
Because, like, I'm breaking blocks and running to the right a lot. Where do you get a baby girl and a dinosaur egg? Already confusing. But let us continue. So the lady that dropped the dinosaur egg lady little girl baby thing ran off, and then basically it's implied that she gets murdered by Koopa in the alley. Is that accurate?
It's in the tunnel. She collapses it to keep Koopa from coming and getting the baby, and kills herself in the process.
But he doesn't help, obviously. He forces this thing to happen. But why? Why is he doing this? Do we know at this point? Obviously, this is giving us a backstory for things to come.
It's the cliche introducing the bad guy because something bad happens while he's there.
Herman, you're quiet. He's just chilling.
I was just thinking in a dark alley, you know. I'm just thinking of, you know, Dennis Hopper trying to chase after a baby in a dark alley. Sorry. Visualizing.
And just one thing before we get more into plot, just a general take for this movie again. All of the acting in this is portrayed as so serious.
Oh, it
almost makes it funnier.
Yeah, 100% serious. They play these characters like this. I mean, it's their job to play these characters, but again, source material. We have never heard these characters talk ever before this in the video games. Other than, well, let's see, because at this point, only up to Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo was released. So, did we have any like voice dialogue from Mario, or wasn't it? I think it was Mario 64 was when he first talked, right? Somebody in chat, like, this is a trivia question for chat.
And I won't know because I don't know, but did he make like maybe like some noises while he was jumping, and that was about it up to this point? Like,
No, jump man, is a throwback. But yeah, no, the boing, like that was basically it. We didn't have dialogue from any of these characters. There weren't even speech bubbles until Super Mario World.
and how do you get from Koopa in the games, who is a legit dinosaur, to Dennis Hopper with crazy spiked cornrows?
Yeah, in the '90s, I totally would have rocked that hairstyle.
I think you did, but
I also did.
Okay, Trevor points out though, Captain Lou. So the Super Mario Brothers Super Show was half live action, half cartoon. Captain Lou,
that's true.
Portrayed the live action Mario from that. So yeah, fair. He talked there. But is that like canon? Is that considered source material? Was that used here? Because even that cartoon is so, out there, and it has one of the most annoying voice actors ever that played Toad. If you remember that, at least their portrayal of Toad.
Are you segueing into Toad for the movie?
I will get there. We're gonna get there. We don't want to jump ahead just yet. There are a few things that happen before we get to that sequence.
That's true. I'm sorry.
95 on PC was Mario's Fundamentals. So there's the debut voice for Mario. Console debut was indeed 64 though. So it was around 95, 96. Oh. So there you go. But by this time, they hadn't had anything from the games to, come from. So we flash forward to Brooklyn, present day. We find the Mario brothers in their apartment waiting for a call for some plumbing work. They live in just basically a dump. I can't imagine they make a lot of money as plumbers in Brooklyn. Maybe they do. They don't look like it, though.
They talk about how they have no money.
Yes.
Yeah, trying to pay rent.
Yep, so they're trying to make it by. Poor plumbers who do mushrooms. They're clearly fascinated by fungus. Just a couple plumbing drug abusers. They drive their crappy van to a job, and they have some banter back and forth. So already, like, the relationship between the Marios. What is the age difference between the brothers?
Man, it seems 20 years in the movie.
It has to, because you got somebody that's probably
15, 20, because I know it's later, but Luigi literally says, like, they don't have parents. Mario was his dad. Right, so, like, we don't get much of anything there, but there's definitely an age difference. Chunk says Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo is almost always drinking on the set. Yep, I do have notes of that. We'll elaborate more on that. So the age difference, the banter already, like, I don't have a sibling. I don't know, like, if that's normal behavior, and then we'll get to a certain sequence, too, that it becomes even more pivotal to plot. But, like, it's just weird establishing sequence for the brothers. It's just kind of like where we're introduced to them. They're bantering, they're poor, they're trying to get work.
And in the early 90s, was it right for them to be racing to a job to try to beat another truck? Like, would someone actually call them to do a job, or were they race the other guys to get there?
That's the thing.
They lost their job.
How did leads work back then? Like, how do you get jobs? Because, from my understanding, you go in the newspaper, you call up a plumber, and then you contract them to come out. Like, even before the internet, you would just call up them through the newspaper clipping, or you find, like, a paper on a telephone pole or something, that they've put out there. Or a phone book.
To someone on the phone.
But that wouldn't make a good story for a crappy movie.
The Yellow Pages, Trevor points out, see, those are things that existed that we probably don't even think about anymore.
The Yellow Pages still exist. It's just online now.
It's true. They do have a website. So they are beat by another company who has a much better van, I must add. A very professional looking company. We then have a segue to a scene which is nearby at a construction site. We meet who apparently is an activist. Is that why she's there? Like I didn't really understand why she was there.
They work for the college and they have a dinosaur bone dig.
Okay. So she's
Because they found her, spoiler, her mother's bones.
Yeah.
Which is a humanoid T-Rex.
right. She doesn't know that yet, right? Because we learned that
No.
going through the
But
underground
yeah,
to come. So she's confronted by men in suits. She already gave their names.
Did anybody get the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles vibe? Like,
Oh, at the dig site with TGRI?
yeah, where April O'Neil, where they first saw April O'Neil and all that stuff. It was really kind of the same.
Thanks for the host, MX. You know, I did get a lot of vibes of that too with the dig site and similarities. It's like you're stealing from a plot point from a movie a couple years back.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is kind of weird.
What is going on?
Thanks for the host, Ty. And yeah, no Vanilla Ice in this one. However,
Ninja go, Ninja go.
this movie doesn't have all that bad of a soundtrack. Like, everybody do the dinosaur at the end? Come on. Both my kids immediately rushed off the couch to dance. Like, they were super stoked about the credits of the movie because of the song that came on. So, like...
And the kids liked it. That's awesome.
Right, so they enjoyed it. So maybe not as good a soundtrack as Ninja Turtles, but this still had a decent one for its time. We're also introduced to the Goombas in this movie who are watching from afar. Are
those really Goombas? Or
the Koopas?
because I think those are the Koopas.
It might be the Koopas.
So those two are Koopa. Oh, because, yes. They are the
'Cause
Koopas.
The other ones show up
because-
later.
They are the Koopas because they are Iggy and Spike, who were
Yes.
Koopa's kids in Super Mario World.
But in this one, they're his cousins. Oh, whatever.
Yes, the Koopa cousins, which we'll get to later on in this as well.
Reaching.
And basically, this sequence was weird. Like, we get your Koopas or, like, your descendants or you evolve from dinosaurs. But, like, the whole, like, thing is they're stalking down the road through people. And then they're running into panes of glass. Which is, my God, how many times has that been done in movies? How many times has that
Just
happened?
to prove that they have to do all that because audiences are dumb and won't realize that the characters are dumb.
So you
So
just
you
have
have to portray them as extra dumb.
You have to spoon feed them as somebody being that dumb. Question: have you ever seen somebody run into a pane of glass?
You don't just bounce off. I can tell you that. But
Have you ever seen anyone move glass like that on a busy street? Ever?
not like that.
Nope.
That was weird. And it continues to be weird every time it's used in films. Because immediately you're like, oh, something's going to happen.
And the guys didn't even react when he ran into it. They just
No,
kept going.
because they know it happens in all the movies. They're like, oh, it's just another guy in another movie. We get to a sequence then where Daisy needs to use a payphone, but Luigi's on the phone. Luigi's immediately love-struck. He is not even listening to the call that he needs to make and just basically hands her the phone and then gets to a point where Mario's yelling in the background about a bottle of water being $3, which in 93, was water $3 in Manhattan or Brooklyn?
I don't know.
Like, I know water in a bottle is expensive, like, stupidly expensive still. Like, a thing we get for free from rain or in, like, water. Like, it's water, but they charge $3 for a bottle. Like, it's wild. That's another topic for another day. But, so So while that's happening, they're having their little like moment, and eventually he gets enough, I guess, would you say, courage or just stupidity to ask her for a ride, and then out on a date at the conclusion of this.
A little
and-
pushing of Mario.
A little pushing for Mario, and the fact that Mario fixed their van with 1 liter of water.
Well, it was just overheating, right? It just needed coolant. When you or is it the radiator? You just put water in the radiator.
Yeah, but you
Yeah,
wouldn't
that
able
would
to
be what
drive
would
it
make
the
it
rest of the
overheat.
movie.
But
I'm not a mechanic, clearly. Nor am I a plumber.
But yeah, just
My
funny. Just another thing that's not consistent for a lot of movies. He fixed it with 1 thing of water, and it was fine.
Of
a
course.
minute later.
You have to progress the plot. So, you ordered the DVD. Chunk, hey, you're welcome. I'm glad we've inspired you. Enjoy it. It's a piece
will
of
not
history.
be disappointed.
It is a piece of history. And it's one of those things every few years you should make somebody else watch it that has not watched it, just to spread the love of the first live action video game film. My favorite line from this little exchange, though, when they first meet, and if I was on the dating scene again, I would use this line, which, Lana, I love you. I'm not on the dating scene. I don't plan on being, unless you are tired of me, and then I understand. But I will be using this pickup line then, and that is, do you eat? He straight up asked, do you eat? How do you respond to that question?
She said yes.
She did say yes. That was bad. That was real bad. But it worked. He got the date. Let's talk about the date. Because, of course, they went to an Italian restaurant. And, of course, they're eating spaghetti. But can we get more stereotypical of what...
I will say, the first time I watched this, and now I know it's not, but I stopped watching. I expected there to be a Lady in the Tramp moment because they were eating spaghetti.
Oh, you were disappointed because there wasn't.
I was. So they didn't do that cliche, and I was upset.
Locke says he got the date because Leguizamo is a treasure.
John Leguizamo is a treasure. I will agree with that.
I agree. Lana says that would work on me. Do you eat? It's the key to her heart. What can I say?
And he didn't look like the violator in this movie, so I think he was doing a lot better.
He was younger. He looked, better, approachable. And I mean, he's mostly harmless because he's an idiot, right? Isn't that what they say?
He was playing himself in this movie.
There you go. So Luigi ends up walking Daisy home, and the Koopas follow them. They end up stealing Mario's girl, Pauline, instead, as they followed the van home because he walked her home. That sequence was confusing. Maybe I was distracted or not paying attention, but that was weird.
I think the gist of it was just, again, proving that those two are dumb because they can't kidnap the right girl.
And they were like, she's undercover.
So pretty much, if it was a girl, that's who they were supposed to kidnap.
So here's a missing beat too. So instead of going home on their walk, they stumble upon a sewer to investigate the construction site so she can look at the dinosaur bones.
I think she was trying to show off the dig.
Okay.
Like it was her thing. So she wanted to take Luigi to show it off.
Like he was going to be impressed or something.
Yeah.
Like he's already completely infatuated with her. Why does she need to like woo him? Like clearly it wasn't taking much.
Movie they had to go down there.
Okay. I just thought that was weird. So while doing this, they indeed found, the dinosaur bones. And then there were workers down there and they find a leak. And they're like, thank God you're here. And Luigi asks why. And Daisy's like, well, because you're a plumber. And then he's like, oh, yeah.
Well, see, If you watch it, those are the Scapelli bad guy plumbers caused the leak because they don't want them to be on the dig. They're trying to get it shut down so they can have more construction in the area.
So they're hijacking the project, but the plumbers saved the day already because they were in the
Yes.
right place at the right time.
Because Mario is a pipe expert.
So then,
Line from the movie, by the way.
Jesus, that's awful. So he shows up to help fix the sub pump, and Koopas, follow him there, of course. And they sneak up. And did they use wrenches on them? Is that what they hit him with? They knock him out. They knock out both of the Marios. In one scene,
Approximately 0.2 seconds.
oh, real quick, the one thing that had me but very concerned, those lanterns they were holding, were they not powered by electricity? One fell into water. Like immediately, I'm
And
like,
the hydrant like pressure.
right. And I'm like, oh, electricity and water? Like, no, not good bedfellows. Like, no. And Ty says he was a pipe expert once. Now we have to put explicit content on this podcast. Thank you.
Oh man.
He meant water pipes.
I'm
We're
sure.
good.
I'm sure he did. And Locke was a pipe once. What is this love connection right now? What is happening in this show? Jesus, guys. All right, so they knock out the Marios, they steal Daisy, and through this process, we then discover a portal through the sand?
You 90s awesome CG teleportation.
But when I went through sand in the video game, I died. I don't remember ever going to an alternate dimension ever.
Correct. No, you didn't. No, none of us did.
Maybe your character did, and they just made you start over with a new character.
Yeah, that was wild. So, of course, you find it, you're going to go through it. And as iRob said, yeah, indeed, weird, like, CG moment. It wasn't awful. It wasn't great. It was innovative. It's better than I can do. So, good job.
Oh yeah.
It kind of dated the movie a little bit, though, with what they did.
It did, and that's the biggest problem with digital versus practical, right? Practical tends to hold up a little bit longer than digital effects, and this is even with visual effects in video games, right? That stuff tends to age before the actual gameplay. So we go through the portal. We're now in Dino Hatton. Is that what they called it? We don't know.
I didn't catch it.
So they're in underground.
Catch these.
So if you're playing Mario Brothers, once you beat the first level, where do you go? Underground.
Second level underground.
So that's kind of like the vibe I was getting here. Is that the source material inspiration? Is we went underground, and it reminded me of literally almost every sci-fi movie from like 70s, 80s, and 90s. Just the.
I thought Demolition Man and Time Cop, as soon as they went right into, it was like, ooh, electric on the stuff from Time Cop, and then Demolition Man when they ended up going below the streets.
Yeah, I got vibes from that. I got vibes from Total Recall as well, with some of the wardrobe and the various extras, in the background for some of the scenes. So definitely sci-fi inspired set pieces that we had here. In the background, there were some nice nods that Lana called out. There was Thwomp and Bullet Bills for some of the stores. I don't know if you caught those. So those were in the background. So obviously nods to the game. Bullet Bill being the bullet, Thwomp being the big spiky thing that thwomps. I don't know how else to describe that. So we get our chase sequence again continuing here. You're starting to see a pattern of things happening. They chase down Daisy, and then we finally see the Goomba in their form. So the actual Goombas. We're then introduced to Koopa again and his companion, Lena? I didn't get the name very well. But she was an actress who went on to do much bigger things like Harry Potter. So if you've seen those films, you might recognize her from that. Mario Brothers continue searching this underground area, and then they come across their super boots, which was like the first big practical effect of the film here.
But because we hit on it last time, the '90s movie had to have the club scene.
It did. Well, we'll get to the club scene a little bit later in the plot, but yes, the stereotypical club scene does take place in this movie as well. They're still in the main streets here. They find the super boots. They have an exchange. Someone takes the rock they had. And then we're introduced to a gentleman playing the guitar. Did you immediately...
That is.
I mean, who is it? Did you immediately know?
No. Not at all.
Do you know at all who it is?
I know now. When you watch more farther into the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, spoiler, it's Toad. So, Toad is a guitar player?
And harmonica.
And harmonica. How does this make any sense?
It doesn't.
And not even professional.
No.
The side
No.
of the street.
Yeah, he's a street performer. But I mean, hey, get it where you can, I guess. But like, for me, like, Toad was an assistant of the royal family, right? That's my understanding what Toad was. Maybe I'm wrong.
Has to be with the King Toad and Princess Toadstool and Toad. They were all part of the same sitch.
Trevor says he sings, "I'm sorry, Mario, princess is in another castle." So the Marios get arrested, as well as Toad. We learn their last name, as we saw in the beginning here, and shout out Herman, thank you for making that intro sequence for us. During processing, we learn, again, their last names of Mario and Luigi Mario. We talked about that in the beginning. And Koopa then shows off his machine that he has called the Devolve machine, and he devolves Toad.
Into a Goomba.
Interesting process as well.
So the idea of it is they're devolving your form, mostly your brain, right, to a more primitive and smaller state. But this also turns your head into something else and then makes your body like abnormally large.
Yeah, I noticed it was the
8.5
exact
tall.
opposite from the video game Goombas, who are like all head with little legs. And these ones, it's giant body, little head.
Yeah. Why? I don't understand the inspiration there. Like, I don't get it. But hey, I mean,
He had creative freedom, man. You just gotta do your thing.
He had creative freedom, so and they did their thing. So we learn about that machine. It'll become more important in the plot as the film goes on. During the sequence where the Marios have an exchange, they're insulting Koopa without knowing he's Koopa yet, and then they find out he's Koopa, and then they trap him in the machine, and then they run off. They come across some fungus in their escape, and a babam, or whatever you want to pronounce it.
Trust the fungus.
Trust the
Babam.
fungus. So I thought that was kind of neat. Like, if anything is close to source material, this entire film is the little bombs. Like, I think that's the closest thing to anything in this movie. So, I mean, that was nice. While they're running, here was another nod to the video games. As they're running through these, like, scaffolding and whatnot in the underground again, they're having fireballs go by them. If you're familiar with the original Mario game, when you're in the castle, when you get closer to Koopa, before we knew him as Bowser, the fireballs are coming out. You have to dodge them, and then you have to run under him and break the bridge. So, like, just subtle things like that. I'm like, okay, cool. That's a little nod. little forced, but I get it. And he runs around with a flamethrower too, hence, because Koopa breathes fire.
I like those guns. Those guns are awesome. Little flamethrower guns.
I wouldn't mess with him. You might get burned.
I like how they portrayed the actual fireballs. It was a good way for them to do it.
Yeah, it was smart. It's practical effects, so it didn't look terrible. So that stuff worked. Of course, we get yet another chase sequence. It's becoming a trend here. They steal a cop car, and they escape to the desert, which is a nod to World 2.
Real fast here, the continuity thing that doesn't make sense. All their cars run on straight electricity.
Yes.
How come when they hit each other, they explode in gas bombs?
That's a great question. Because I don't think it would explode because it's not combustible.
So it's just something I picked up, like that little continuity. They don't run on gas, but yet they explode like they have gas tanks.
Yeah, wouldn't they be just like bumper cars then, basically?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they would just stall out.
Well, because we don't have dinosaurs on the ground to make oil for gas like we do, so they wouldn't have gas.
Fossil fuels.
Wow.
Science.
God.
So they escape to the desert with their combustible cars, which I have in here as a nod to maybe the desert world in Mario 3, World 2. Again, forced stuff from source material. Because if you don't force these little things, is it even a Mario movie then?
Well, the character's name is Mario, so it technically would be a Mario movie.
I mean, how many people are named Mario in the world? Like, is Mario Lopez named after this?
He could be.
Oh, stop it. He's not. I think he's older than the games. I could be wrong, though. I don't know how old Mario Lopez is. That's a random trivia for you.
Somebody will look it up and tell you you're wrong. Don't worry.
Oh, I'm sure. That's the best part of these shows. Comment below. So Iggy and Spike get smarter now from the machine with Koopa because he's tired of them being idiots and not getting the job done. And
in here, I'm just, for that one thing, if they have that ability, why don't they do it for everyone?
Because he doesn't want everyone being smarter than him.
One thing I know from the very first time we ever watched the movie that was in my brain is, if you can do that, why wouldn't you?
Because to be a ruler, you got to make everyone below you dumber than you.
But he didn't make himself that smart either.
Well, no.
Like they are smarter than him now.
Yes. But again, reasons. Did we talk about who Iggy and Spike are actor-wise? We did not. I did not make specific note of that. Do you guys want to talk about that, who they are actor-wise, before we continue?
The only one that I knew, and it's is it Iggy? I only know him because he plays the Plague in the Hackers movie.
Which is one of your favorite movies.
It is one of my favorite movies. Mm-hmm. And that's another one that's aged horribly, and I still love. I don't care. You can mock me for it all you want. I love that movie.
I mean, it's fine. It's a fair movie. Yeah. I don't hate it. He's the programmer guy from Short Circuit. That is a film I have not seen in a long time. I used to love both of those movies.
That cover was great. Short Circuit's cover.
It was. I watched that as a young lad. Mm-hmm. Continue with the plot. So, where was I at? So Daisy later meets a dinosaur when she is trapped now. And we find out that dinosaur that she meets was basically like, what, a velociraptor, a baby T-Rex?
Baby T-Rex, maybe?
It's Yoshi.
And he's brown.
And he is very brown. He's not green with a saddle where you can punch him in the back to make him stick his tongue out. I thought that was weird, but at the same time, they're trying to keep it real.
Yeah. And weird, they somehow made a dinosaur look cute. He's believable as a pet. in the movie. It doesn't follow the games at all, but I don't know.
No, he's kind of freaky looking. And if you're watching this on our video version, you might actually get to see that playing behind us happening right now. Let's hope we don't get a copyright strike. I've tried to block most of it out, but hey, we live and we learn.
Yeah, I got that. And
But
it's
with everybody
almost
else,
like they... Sorry.
go ahead, Rob.
I would say like they took Jurassic Park and were like, we need to make the T-Rex tiny and try to make him cute.
I mean, they did that in The Lost World.
But no, that was one of mine. Another I had big note for talk about Yoshi on my notes here too, because that's nothing from source material at all.
No, one of my all-time favorite characters in Mario, like the Mario universe, is Yoshi. So like, it's one of those things that I always feel bad that I had to leave him outside the castle. I feel bad when I have to sacrifice him to get a higher jump over, a pitfall. I feel guilt with that. So he's just one of the best characters, and it's because of his design. He's so friendly and likable looking, and just happy. Like he's just happy to eat all those little, fruits on those trees and eat all the, shells to have powers. And he's a great companion for Mario. So this,
You would think with the Goombas getting so big, you'd think he'd be horse size, since
He should
Mario
be.
usually has to jump on top of him in the game just to get on. So you would think he'd be huge.
He should be. It was weird, but maybe again it's one of those things where they're like, let's make him small. Smaller is less intimidating. Let's make him likable, and I guess they did it. It's not an awful design, but it's not one that I was expecting.
Or they couldn't do Velociraptor the right way because Jurassic Park.
I mean, that could be too. But even then, like, that's inspired by a real thing? So is there trademarks on replicating a dinosaur?
Well, you would think Mario would be before, right? No, Yoshi wouldn't be before.
Yeah. Big Hero 6 proves that big can be cute too, says Ty in chat. I love that movie, by the way. That's one to get the tissues ready for.
Never seen it.
Oh, dude. You really should. It's a good movie.
Everyone tells me that. It's on the list.
You're going to have a long list by the end of these podcasts, I tell you.
Right?
So we then have Iggy and Spike getting trapped in quicksand out in the desert. And this was such a problem as children. I was always worried about getting caught in quicksand. It was a big fear.
I thought I'd run into it a lot more.
I've never seen it once in my life.
Ever. Like the pane of glass.
Right, that too. These are all classic tropes that I've never once come across in life. Chunk says you have to go see Big Hero 6. Literally after we're done with the podcast, go watch it. I think it is on my Voodoo account.
It probably is. I've had many opportunities to see it.
Shame.
That one can knock me down in my nerd points that I haven't watched that one. I'll take that hit.
Well, make a point of it. So they get stuck. Iggy and Spike get stuck in the quicksand after chasing them down. They then return to the city with them to track down the Rock. And not Dwayne The Rock Johnson, but the Rock they keep referring to.
Meteorite piece.
A meteorite piece, to be exact. And Trevor says that you're the new Eric. So when we were doing a shout out, you could find this series on our podcasts, retro stuff, and on our YouTube if you search for Dose of Nerd Acumen. All the Good Culture featured a 90s series where we talked about everything music, wrestling, movies, anything nerd or pop culture related. And we'd always get towards the end where we were talking about movies. And he was one of them that was always like, never seen it, never seen it, never seen it. So we were always like, you got to watch this. You got to watch this. And if you've ever talked to anyone who has Netflix, they're always telling you to watch a movie. And most people's response is, yeah, it's on the list. It's on the list. We got to be honest with each other in life more often, though, and say that there actually is no list. I haven't been jotting these down. I'm probably never going to watch that. I'm just trying not to be a piece of garbage to you. But yeah, I'm going to watch that. But in reality, you're not going to watch that ever. So let's just say, yeah, I'm glad you like it, but I don't give a crap enough to go and watch it. And I haven't so far, and I'm probably not going to. That's just how we need to communicate with each other in life. Let's just cut to the chase with things. Stop sugarcoating. That's my momentary soapbox. Continuing with the plot and review of Super Mario Brothers, the movie. Maybe it is just me. I get on these tangents. Maybe it isn't me and Locke. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
So on that pop culture thing you were saying, I want to bring up the fact that there was a lot of wrestling references. I don't know if that's a little premature in this podcast, but a lot of them. He needed to get back to New York to bring his girlfriend to WrestleMania, which was pretty awesome too.
It's true because, let's see, 93 would have been at Caesar's Palace for WrestleMania 9. WrestleMania 10 was in New York City in 94, if I'm correct. So maybe that's what they were referencing, the return of WrestleMania in New York City or Manhattan. Because it was at Madison Square Garden. Could be. But how, like, was it that far announced in advance? You know, those are things I don't remember.
Yeah.
But yes, I believe the director was a fan of wrestling. Or the actor. Somebody was clearly a fan of wrestling.
I think we can give you a pass for not remembering where WrestleMania was when you were 8.
Yeah, but I'm a walking, like, historian for dates and things.
He's not sleeping tonight over this until he figures it out.
He
I'm
doesn't
fairly-
sleep anyway.
It's true. I'm fairly confident I'm accurate, though. Because I love memorizing dates of things. It's a weird thing I do. Don't know why, but here we are. So we return to the city, and then we get what iRob spoke on. They go to the club. Because what do you do in a 90s movie? You go to the club. And,
Everybody walk that dinosaur.
now we got a copyright strike. Thank you. So yeah, they go dancing. He comes across the lady that he basically stole the boots from earlier that they had an encounter on, because she was the one that had the boots, right?
Yeah.
And now he tries to woo her.
Romances her?
He
He succeeds.
Oh, he very much succeeds. This is a man that is using another woman to get her necklace. What a horrible man he is. But he succeeds.
Nobody can resist the charm of a Mario.
Apparently.
And his way to get it is borderline mature. I just have to say.
So yes,
This helped get to 13, I think, because wasn't this PG-13?
this was PG, man.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
pushing the border.
Yeah, let me make sure. I have the case in front of me. What does it say? PG. For sci-fi action, mild language, and sensuality. So there's your sensuality. But yes, that sequence was awkward because I'm sitting there again with my almost 2 and 5-year-old with my wife on the couch as well. And we both kind of glance at each other and we're like waiting for the questions. Like, because he is all up in the cleavage with his face. Apparently you can do that in a kids movie. And yes, Big Bertha. It isn't Big Bertha the fish. Isn't that the giant fish in one of the Mario games?
Foreshadowing. It just showed that behind you, the face and cleavage.
It did. We're like pacing this very well.
We're caught up.
Yeah, we did catch up. We're doing pretty good. This is only going to be an hour and a half podcast then. If we continue at this pace. But in the 80s, you could have topless women and still PG-13. Wow. Big Bertha was the truck in Warzone? I don't know. I thought it was the fish, the giant fish. But I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm quoting a lot of things and feeling less than confident in a lot of my statements on this stuff. This is why you do homework, kids, when you're doing a podcast. but there's so much material to sift through. Big Bertha was the big cheap in Mario 3. So there you go. So there's the nod. Continuing on, so she helps them, and what we think she's going to chase them down after stealing the necklace, because Mario succeeds in stealing it. She ends up helping them escape the club. They then ride in a trash truck and find their way to Koopa. And of course, they have the super boots back. And then finally, we get introduced to them in their proper colored suits that they wear. Because throughout the whole movie, they're not wearing anything resembling their signature Renner green attires.
After the cliche, they're plumbers and can mess with the heat in the giant building. Because for some reason, the skyscraper has a boiler.
Yes. Which, how would that work in a skyscraper? I don't know. I don't do construction either. Clearly. This, I thought, was a clever nod to the game. So in the elevator sequence, they put the Goombas...
One of the best scenes.
One of the best scenes? This is the best scene for you?
I love this scene.
Why?
Just ridiculous. It makes me laugh every time.
The most memorable.
I mean, you know what it's a nod to, right? No?
No.
Again, this is just me thinking of source material, and literally every beat I'm trying to connect the dots, even though it's probably not there. The music box in Mario 3. So if you played Mario 3, you collect the music box as an item. It allows you to pass over some of the Hammer Bros, because it basically puts them to sleep, or other characters you can pass over them because it puts them to sleep. So for this, I'm like, it's the music box that puts them into a trance.
Well, there you go.
I could be way out in left field, but that was just kind of the thing I'm like, maybe.
The way you're explaining it makes sense. So
Yeah.
Could be a thing. Could be not. I don't know. We don't know things. But this is the best scene. This is what got you amped up for Mario, right?
it's the one it's my favorite scene, and it's the one I remember. If you bring up the movie and I haven't thought about it for a while, I remember that scene.
Okay. Is it because the box art literally has them in their signature pose that occurred in that scene? And then probably the trailers has them in that too. And Chuck says it makes sense, so we'll believe you. I mean, for me as well, it's one of the scenes I do remember specifically. So, besides the devolve sequence, that always stood out to me too, because I was like, this is kind of neat special effects. So, throughout all this, Daisy manages to escape from Lena with help from Yoshi. She is, however, caught by Iggy and Spike and then introduced to this blob thing hanging over a throne, which the throne I thought was another nod to Super Mario 3. If you don't know each of the castles, there's always a king you have to save from each of the Koopas. So I thought that was, again, a reference. I could be wrong, but that's just what I got vibes from it. And the blob thing, that felt so out of place, too, for the movie. What the heck is that?
That's, when they tell you it's the old king. He is the fungus that's been helping.
The plot line to help our heroes.
But that's the best plot we have to tell this?
Well, that's what happens when you take a guy that directs music videos and give him free reign in a movie.
I guess. So the Marios end up finding Daisy, which we then go to a runaway tunnel sequence. Again, another chase sequence in this movie. It is not short of them. It's almost like every way to bridge locations is we get a chase. Again, the Goombas, all of them are chasing them. This was weird. Is this a nod to the tunnels that he goes down?
You would think they would put coins or something down there, or something for him to
And
grab.
I thought because they're sliding in ice, there's the ice levels. I don't know.
Oh God, I didn't even think of that reference. It's fun for the kids. It's simple. It has exciting music behind it. You know, your traditional chase like orchestra and things happening, and yeah, it was weird.
It's a decent time filler.
That's basically what it is. It's a time filling bridge to the next location. So they make their escape successfully back to the main underground area for a fight with Koopa and the flamethrower this time. Again. Using the super boots, they overcome the odds, while Luigi and Daisy use the rock to open back up the portal. Which then we get an interesting nod to the vanishing from the Avengers, like with Thanos with the snap. Like this happens like particles for Koopa and Mario.
Right in this part here, you do also get to see someone get shot with the Devo gun, which is just the gun from Nintendo system.
The Super Scope. Yes. Yeah, it was like a modded Super Scope from Nintendo. It was like a product placement almost, which was so weird. Because I don't think in any of the Mario games you ever use a Super Scope.
No, and it was like, it kind of, for me, it broke the continuity, like, knowing what it is. It literally just looks like they gave someone a plastic toy gun and said, here, just shoot this at something.
Yes.
It doesn't fit with any of the other new dimension, like at all.
It doesn't. So when they evaporate, they appear at the construction site, and as you mentioned, the Koopa uses the Devo gun, aka the Super Scope, on one of the men in suits, and then turns him into a monkey. And they all point and laugh at him. That's not alarming.
Monkey, though.
I mean, he's a cute
they're
monkey.
laughing at themselves.
But that's not alarming that somebody shot a gun and turned someone into a monkey in front of your eyes.
Well, my thing is, I think it's so outrageous that they thought it was a publicity thing. So they're like, hey, it's a monkey. Like,
I mean, I could see that. And
nobody was scared.
Yeah, no, not a single person. I would run. I'd be out of there.
Well,
Somebody turn into a monkey, I'm out.
Even his bodyguards just picked him up like he was.
He was just it's just normal. Yeah, he just turns into a monkey sometimes. This is
every once in a while.
This is
And I think that was supposed to be the funny part because that was the evil that they the bad Scapelli guy from the beginning of the movie is the one that gets turned into the monkey. So it's supposed to be funny that it was him.
right, but are they even that menacing of villains? Sure, they were ruining something that she liked, but there was no real pressing point to the plot there. And Locke said here before we miss over it, biggest miss of the Super Scope was never getting a sequel to Duck Hunt. That is fact. That is fact. They should have done another. Lana says it's one of the Capelli Plumber guys, that one that threatened her in the beginning. Yes. So, I mean, with that, again, I never felt like they were the menacing villain. At least have him connected to the Koopas somehow. If you're going to have this tie-in to who they are. Otherwise, they're just kind of a filler to give her a menacing plot point. But at the same time, they're not really. It just felt inserted or forced. It was weird. They could have done a better job. For that character.
There's a lot in this movie that you could say that exact statement.
True.
Did she even shoot him? Did she shoot him, or did someone else end up shooting him? So
Koopa shot him.
Koopa shot.
Yeah. So what did Koopa have against him?
To make a point that he's here to take over Manhattan, his town.
Not just Manhattan, the world. He's coming over to us, and he's going to rule the world.
Yeah.
With his cornrows.
And his Super Scope.
Super Scope.
Oh, God. So Mario blocks then the Devo gun, which was then pointed at him because he believed in the fungus.
Trust the fungus.
Trust the fungus. Oh, God. So the fungus grows and blocks it. And it sends them all back into the underground again. So we're bouncing from points which could each have been endings to this
They go
movie.
back because Luigi is successful at pulling the rock back out.
Right. But we're just bouncing back and forth from an ending.
With his plumbing tools. Because, they have to keep bringing it back that the plumbers have tools.
Yeah, because he used a drill, didn't he? And then he used something else.
Some type of puller.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Where you, screw it in and it's supposed to, pop something. I don't know. I'm not.
He has to prove
handy.
himself because he's just training to be a plumber. So, right?
That's
He's
right.
an apprentice.
Because when they get arrested, he's not a full plumber. He's only an apprentice.
Yep. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the Goomba Toad ends up helping Daisy and Luigi. They find Mario facing off against Koopa again. And then once again, we have music here from Toad this time, used to place the other Goombas in a trance. Luigi uses the super boots to distract Koopa, while the Babam continues to walk somewhere. The Marios use the Devo gun on Koopa, and then the Babam blows up Koopa. He turns into a dinosaur. They shoot him again, and he turns to ooze.
Dinosaur. In quotes, because it doesn't look like anything it's just like something with big teeth.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping a piranha plant would come out of there.
I wonder if that's what he was
That
trying
would
to
be
go
cool.
for, but they just didn't get it.
It was weird.
And then when you got around when they clipped to a 2-frame side shot, and all you seen was a small little head sitting inside that little barrel that they shot.
Yeah. So the crowd cheers, and then they super boot out of there. These are sentences I never thought I'd say. The king is then normal also. The Marios end up going back through the portal, leaving Daisy behind because she has to stay. This is where she's from, and she's suddenly just fine abandoning her entire existence in the regular Manhattan to live here now to help everyone.
And my only part that I didn't like from that scene is how the little Yoshi dinosaur waves and makes a noise that sounds like bye.
That was... Oh, man. Why?
And also, he is fine now after being stabbed.
Oh, that's
He's totally
right.
fine.
That's right. I forgot he did get injured, and he is fine again. That's weird. So,
Hey Travis,
yeah.
sorry to bother. We just started monsooning at my house, and I have my tools on my backyard, so I have to get my tools off the patio.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Sorry, I'll be right back.
It's monsooning. Oh God.
Well, yeah, he's in. There's where we can make fun of Herman for, because he lives in that beautiful, beautiful place. That can happen to him.
So yeah, for those that don't know, we are connected in 3 different locations today. For listeners of this who don't really know much about us, I am close to Detroit, Michigan. iRob is close to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Wicked is on one of the many islands of Hawaii. So we, for one, us two are in a very different time zone as him. He is about 5 or 6 hours before us, right? He's 2 or 3 in the afternoon there. So he's got the luxury of his whole day ahead, whereas ours is winding down if you're in the Eastern time zone here. Batman says, I take it. It's raining then. So we have a chat saying Duck Hunt, the movie. That would be... He couldn't have done that before you guys. I don't know. Duck Hunt, the movie, that would be an interesting thing. I feel like it'd be a situation where they just pull an old Yeller and you just make it a tragic tale where this hunter and dog always go out and he ends up getting rabid or something. He has to shoot him.
Oh, here's one to ask the chat. When playing Duck Hunt, how many of you have tried to shoot the dog when he laughs at you?
Raise of hands. Yeah, we're all evil people and we should go to evil places. Awkward. All right, so we've defeated Koopa. We've beat the game. And there's the raise of hands. We have me's in chat now saying we're all bad people. We're all bad people. That's okay. That's why we're all here, right? We're all going together. 3 weeks later, Mario is cooking spaghetti and Luigi is mopey.
Of course,
They're
spaghetti.
acknowledged, though, however, as the Super Mario Bros. On the news, so they're excited. Everything is like, yay, spaghetti, we're Super Mario Bros. We have publicity for us, free marketing. Things are looking up. Burst through the door is Daisy, and she says she needs their help. And they believe, is what Mario says, and then the credits roll.
I believe.
Oh, I believe. And credits roll. But wait, after everybody do the dinosaur, there's a post-credit scene. Who would have thought that in this movie that's a post-credit scene? So if you missed it, anyone out there is a post-credit scene. It is 2 Japanese men pitching that they want to make a video game on the adventures of Iggy and Spike, who are sitting there in an apartment. They had a few names bounced back and forth, but they both mutually decide and agree that it should be called the Super Koopa Cousins. Yeah, awkward silence intentionally. That's it. That's a wrap on the movie. I have a few fun facts, and then we can digress with our thoughts on this as a whole. Dustin Hoffman begged to be given the role of Mario due to the fact that his kids loved the video game. Despite his pleas, the role went originally to Tom Hanks under the condition that he would be paid $5 million to play Mario. But as we know, Hoffman ended up getting the role. Danny DeVito was the studio's top choice to portray Mario. Was also passed on for Bob Hoskins due to affordability. During his acting lessons, Bob Hoskins didn't know the movie he was working on would be based on a video game until his son asked him what he was working on. When he mentioned the movie's title, his son immediately recognized it and showed him the game on his own Nintendo system. In the movie, Mario mentioned that he was going to see WrestleMania, which we talked about because of Wicked there. Despite Steve Buscemi being originally cast as Luigi, the role ultimately obviously went to John Leguizamo. Throughout the movie, everyone in the parallel dimension, Koopa's world, called the Mario Brothers mammals plumbers. The exception was the guard at the police station who asked for their identities. Daisy's original name was Diana, according to the sticker book that was released for this movie. It was soon changed due to the fact that Princess Diana lived during that time. The sound that booted up the panel that Daisy used in the room where her father was in fungus form was a 1-up sound effect. And Princess Peach, or briefly called Toadstool, does not appear in this movie. And lastly, Bob Hoskin, John Leguizamo, and Dennis Hopper have all said this was the worst filming experience of their lives. I would have to wholeheartedly agree that this was probably not a pleasure to work on. Chad even mentioned during the show tonight that they were often found drinking on set just to get through takes of this movie. Wow. This movie's a lot.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's potential for, there was at the time, talk of a sequel. No. I mean, it was a box office bust. It was a bomb. A bomb. Ultimately, this is not a good...
Maybe they would have made...
Go ahead.
Maybe they would have made a side-scrolling movie. Maybe it would have made it a little bit better.
It's the walking simulator.
Mario 2.
It's not a good movie. Do I enjoy the film for nostalgia's sake and the importance of its history? That is about it. I mean, what do you guys have for anything you want to
So
add?
my final, I had my take on what happened when this was going is, they said we'd like you, this music video director. Hey, come direct this movie. We want it to be based on these games, but you can do whatever you want. So he just took names, knew that it was supposed to be a movie about plumbers and dinosaurs, and wrote something. And my overall take on the movie, and it's on my notes here, it is a fantastic, horribly written and acted, awesome movie. So there you go.
He said awesome. I don't think anything in this movie was awesome.
I already told you that this is one where I'll probably be in the extreme minority. I like this movie. Not because it's well made or acted or anything, just I can watch it and I am entertained by it. That's it.
Like, go ahead, Wicked. I'm trying to formulate something.
I will say one good thing about it. I am happy that the kids like it. Still, I'm happy about that. But they waited so long to make a cartoon sequel just so everybody could forget about it. And I think we are the only ones bringing it back into people's memories, which is amazing. Woo.
We inspired someone to buy it. And they ask, they specifically ask, what were you on while watching it, iRob, that you enjoyed it?
Actually, nothing. I am this way completely natural. That's the scary part.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's why we became friends.
So I am under no delusions when I say I love this, that I know it's a horrible movie, and I love it at the same time. I just...
I'm just trying to think of situations where, besides like exploring this every few years, when you come across somebody who's like, I've never seen this, that's when I would take this movie out and put it on for them, or do like what I did with Herman, who didn't have access to it. So Herman reaches out to me today, aka Wicked for names I'm just throwing at him for those that don't know. It's that guy. We don't call him by his first name, which I don't know why. Has anybody ever called you by your first name?
I don't think I ever have.
It's always been Herman.
Okay. Chunk says, I'll never forget this movie. Will forever be burned into your mind. Yes. For bad reasons. But fun fact today, Herman couldn't find his copy. There's, I don't think, any streaming services that have this movie currently. So we hopped on Discord and I went off to finish my work day and I just threw on screen share and streamed it to him from my server. So
yeah, that's how popular this movie is. You can't even pay to rent it on streaming services right now.
Is it available on Amazon though to rent?
No.
It's not even available on Amazon to rent.
No. I would have rented it. It wasn't anywhere.
Wow. Yeah, because resellers are selling it for like $14 on Amazon. That's the only place.
It actually made it a little bit better because it was off a little bit. So I mean, it kind of made the movie a little better.
Oh, the audio and video sync. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, probably not the most ideal way to watch it, but what can you do, right? You didn't have access to it.
I had it. I needed it, and I got it. So
yeah, Chung also says not available to rent or buy on any streaming service. So this is a hard to find movie. Again, surprisingly, it's not high in price. From my understanding, there's not an American or this territory or region release on Blu-ray at this time. I don't know if they're going to. If they did, I've never seen it available. The only copies
Amazon has it for on Blu-ray.
Right,
I could have bought a Blu-ray of it.
But what region?
Yeah.
That's what you got to be careful of, because I've seen it in like UK region, but some of those won't play in American Blu-ray players.
Gotcha.
So Blu-ray I know is usually universal as far as its formatting, but there are some things or situations where it's not. I could get into codecs and that stuff.
I can tell you, because when I was really looking to try to find it to stream, because I couldn't find my disc for a while, if you can do the Netflix hack where you change what country you're in, Netflix in Germany is streaming this movie.
So there you go. If you have a VPN, Netflix in Germany is streaming this movie. So region 2 for Batman. So we're in a different region, I believe. I think we're region 1. I don't remember now. I used to have all these memorized because it was like a project 10 years ago in college because we had to learn about codecs. That's a long time ago now. I don't use physical media in that form anymore.
No, and I'm not saying everybody should go break the law or anything. Definitely don't do that. But Netflix in Germany has it to stream. There you go.
We're just saying they do, and then we're saying ways you could do that. We're not encouraging behavior.
Yeah.
That's on them.
Definitely not.
Oh,
Yeah, no.
We do not endorse any illegal activity.
No, of course not. I would never have the movie playing behind me during a stream because that's illegal too.
so
Never.
Never.
or sing
Who would do
during
that?
a podcast ever.
Ever.
Well, me singing is just a crime in itself, so.
Just bought it on DVD, almost bought the Blu-ray, but it was a Region 0, and we were indeed Region 1. And I thought we were Region 1. Just something to consider if you guys have gaming consoles or certain Blu-ray players. You're going to want to look up what they can actually play because they are different.
Do you think with this cult following, they've made over $38 million now over the years?
I would like to think so. I think they've probably made their money back on this. I don't think it's one of those things where they're profiting a great deal. Because I don't know if it's also like, because obviously television gets syndicated. Like, is this on movie channels? Is this on cable TV? Like, how often is this getting circulated in media? If it's not on streaming services, I don't see this as being a high demand product for people to pay for a license to for however long they can, you know? Because that's ultimately how you get movies on streaming platforms. You pay for a license and dividends distribution. So,
And you talked about Vudu, where we got movies that you can't even buy it on Vudu. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't exist in their library.
no digital there either. Amazon Prime in UK. So if you're in the UK, if you have Amazon Prime, it's available there. So supposedly Disney released it on Blu-ray for the US. I have never seen that. I'll have to review Blu-ray.com, as that's where I get a lot of my specs and feedback on stuff. Because personally, I would love a Blu-ray copy of this, even though I haven't opened my DVD copy. I am a weird collector of things, and to have the technically better format on Blu-ray, I would like to see. That's where you found it, was Blu-ray.com. I'll have to do some more research. Because personally, for my collection, I'd love to upgrade, but I'm not like pressed to spend any sorts of big money on it because it's the Mario Brothers movie. So,
And just, I'm going to get a lot of crap for doing this forever. I am notoriously a very unharsh critic on movies. It can be completely horrible, and as long as it made me laugh or so, I'll still like it. I can see it for the entertainment value. So,
yeah, that was often why you were my movie buddy growing up. If I wanted to, when we mentioned this on the last one, if I wanted to put something on, you would never be opposed, and you would either fall asleep or generally like, this is fine. You know,
yeah, it's just a thing for me. So I'll be the one that'll tell you everything's great, and you can go watch it and tell me how wrong I am later. That's that'll happen. So.
I think that's why this continued series too, as we hunt for the worst video game movie, is going to be interesting because of your stance and how different it's probably going to be compared to mine and Herman's. Because I think all three of us are still going to have very different opinions on things. But our hunt continues. Would you say this movie is worse than the ones we've reviewed so far, which is only at this point the 1995 Mortal Kombat?
Definitely, this one is worse than Mortal Kombat.
Okay, so right now this has the throne for worst video game movie adaptation thus far. Live action theatrical release, I must emphasize, because that's what we're focusing on first. Because there are a handful of animated ones, there are a handful of live action straight to DVD ones. We will venture into those, but there is at least 30 to 40 live action theatrical releases that we want to touch on probably first, unless a heavy recommendation says we need to venture into something else that's just god awful that we need to talk about right away. But you can influence what we review next if you head on over to Facebook groups, search for Dose of Nerd Acumen. We have a poll available where you can vote on that list for our next one. For this podcast,
You have control to put pain. Put us through pain. You have control of that.
you do. We have to watch these movies that you pick for us. We have to suffer through them, and our hunt for the worst one continues. So go to that poll.
Someday we'll get through enough where it'll get to one that I think is going to be the worst. But
I think so. Will we
There's
be
one on the
thrilled?
list that even I think is horrible, and I don't want to watch it. So
I'm curious.
I won't spoil it, but
I'm curious.
it'll happen.
So Batman says, vote for Resident Evil movies. You can hit !social to get a link right here on Twitch when you're here live with us to jump on over to our social media pages. While you're there, of course, like, follow, subscribe, and let us know what you think of our stuff. Because not only do we do a movie podcast in rotation every 3 weeks, we do a music podcast. We talk about nerd culture as well on our ongoing series. We just kicked off the 2000s in video gaming. So stay tuned for our next one on that, which is the year 2001. We're going to keep going until we catch up with the current year we are in. In addition to that, we have a ton of other content on the Twitch channel every night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Sunday nights, we talk about wrestling. Monday nights, we have rotating games with Cody King. Tuesday nights, again, is our podcast night on the channel. Wednesday nights is going to be focused on community night stuff. Thursday nights is NAW if you like pro wrestling. Join us for that as well. Friday nights is kind of loose. We have pickup games. This Friday specifically, I'm going to be playing Resident Evil Village. That releases that day. That's going to be a ton of fun. And then we conclude our weeks on Saturdays with Locke playing a rotation of games and sometimes with the community as well. So again, tune in to the Twitch channel for all that. Plus so much more content coming. There's stuff in the works behind the scenes. Very exciting things that you could,
And
speculate on happening.
If you don't like pro wrestling, you can still come hang out with us on Thursdays and watch us be idiots and with our own stuff.
It's true. It's very true. So much to speculate on for the future here. And again, I want to thank iRob for joining me again as a guest, and Herman, a.k.a. Wicked, Wolfpack, right? For life.
For life, baby.
Too sweet. Of course, we're a faction on Thursday nights with also the likes of Rated and Batman right now. They accompany us. They're helping us out to defeat those nasty island warriors.
They're drinking buddies that like to come out and beat people up with us.
It's true. And they do a good job. They helped us get a win recently. But with all of that, I digress.
All the help we can get.
It's true. We need help. Help us. But I digress. The most important task for you all listening right now, head on over to that poll, vote for our next one. In the lead before this podcast was Street Fighter the movie. If that wins, that's the next one we got to review. If that doesn't, the one in second place right now is the first Resident Evil film, the first live action one, which
to me, that's not even a bad thing. I'll watch that without having to review it.
It could be a good thing. Chunk, catching up on chat here before we go. Batman says, vote Resident Evil movies, please. Chunk says, I did replace my Essentials on Blu-ray like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Indiana Jones. I've done the same, and speaking of this June, Indiana Jones is getting a 4K release, if you're into that thing. Pre-orders are now available. Pretty excited for that myself. But again, thank you guys. You know where to find us every single week right here on DNA. And if you haven't followed us yet.
Real fast. We wouldn't be nerds if I didn't say May the 4th be with everybody.
Yes, we did get called out for that. We should address that. Today is May 4th, 2021 when we're recording this. And we got called out for not doing something Star Wars. And in years past, we've always done a Star Wars stream. This is the first year we kind of went against it because we've been so strict on our new schedule format to stay consistent with programming. So at least you gave a shout out. We did the deed to honor Star Wars Day. So go watch Star Wars, and iRob, go watch Big Hero 6. And Wicked,
no promises.
Stay out of that monsoon. Any last thoughts?
Just want to thank everybody for coming out. So far, I'm enjoying it and can't wait to do some more with everybody. So,
thanks, friends. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Yes, sir. Everyone, thank you. Take care. And until next time.